Okay, so I'm going to start tacking up these two parts. These are held in the jig that we saw before. Alright, so remember I've got this surface here. Okay, the plate in the back is my reference surface, my datum A. This could say represent the surface that the part rests on. Okay, so think about if you're making a part, what does it rest on? Does it rest on a table? Does it connect up to a machine? Make something to represent that. So this plate will be my reference surface, and then my block is going to give me my other references for my B and C sides to give me a 90-degree corner right there. So I'm going to weld it out. So what I'm going to do is, okay, I have a freshly ground tungsten right here, nice and sharp. You always want to make sure whenever you're tacking, okay, have your tungsten really good and sharp, because you want really focused, really hot arc that'll just instantly fuse together the parts you're putting together. If your tungsten is cruddy, you're going to get just a big messy puddle that'll burn through small sheet metal and make a mess. So always sharpen your tungsten whenever you think to. An old guy tried and pull a fast one on me once and say, well, how often do you sharpen your tungsten? And my answer was whenever I feel like, and he's like, yeah. So whenever you feel the need to, sharpen, okay? Don't think, oh, I'm sharpening too much, because it's better to sharpen too much than too little. It really reflects on your work. So I'm going to go ahead and tack this out. I turned off the pulser, and I'm running just straight now. I'm going to come in, hit it really hard and fast, and fuse it together. So I want to remember, I'm going to come in about a 1/4 inch from the end. I don't want to weld right on the corners, because I find it's too easy to put a big bleb on the corners, which makes alignment with the other parts very tricky. So I don't want to do it right here. Come in a little bit so I can see the corner and align the corner with my other part that's going to go here. Alright, so I'm going to do that on both sides and effectively make a hinge. Here we go. That's it. So I don't know if you can see here, but the tacks, they're just fusion, so we go really fast on 120 amps, just boom, fuse the two parts together. Okay, now with tacking you have to think a little differently. You want it to be really hot, okay, because you have to think time versus temperature. Okay, if you have low amps because you're afraid of burning through your material, you're like, oh no, I don't want it too hot because I might melt it. Think temperature, okay? It's like cooking. You can either run like high for a short time or really low temperature for a long time. You're still accomplishing the same amount of work, okay? If you run too low a temperature, you're going to sit on it too long and the heat will start penetrating through the material to the bottom, and it'll end up welding yourself to the jig. What you want to have for tacking is for it to be really hot, okay? Sometimes I turn up to 200 amps even, and hit it really fast. Boom! A split second, so the top layer of the sheet metal is going to melt and fuse, but it doesn't give it enough time for the bottom of this sheet metal to melt, okay? It's only melting the very top layer, surface of the metal. Tacking it together, not going all the way through the joint. So if I have to break the joint apart, say for misalignment, I can easily back break and snap the parts off. If you tack at too low a temperature and you burn all the way through, forget it. You're going to have to cut them apart. So you want to tack very hot and very fast with TIG welding. Okay, pump up the amps and practice quick, almost like a light bulb, like a flash bulb going off. Boom, when you get really good. And that will enable you to make very strong tacks. The tacks should also be very shiny, as they are here. They're extremely shiny. There's no sugaring on them, which means they're perfect. If your welds on TIG are shiny, mirror shiny, no dark purples or blues, maybe a little bit of yellow on it, you're perfect, okay? So I'm going to set up the rest of the parts and keep going.